Welcome to our LinkedIn Live event. Today, evolve your help desk with au2mator self-service portal. In the previous episodes of our events, I showed several use cases and how to use with au2mator. Today, we want to dive in very technical and see how au2mator works with PowerShell. The advantages of using PowerShell with au2mator self-service portal are that you can delegate easily your PowerShell scripts with au2mator and have a web GUI to share it and to delegate it to your users. And with that, you have a huge productivity enhancement because not only you can use the PowerShell script, your whole company can benefit of using your PowerShell scripts, but not triggering the PS1 file. You have a nice looking web front end for your users they can use to trigger that automation. And with that, of course, no user, or you don't have to share your PowerShell file with saved credentials, or you don't have to grant the user to action or to the permissions to do what the PowerShell is doing because he needs to log in or sign in because the PowerShell execution is running in the background and the user just sees a web front end. So you have a huge improvement of security. So we start with a short introduction and then we switch immediately to our demo. So my name is Michael Seidel. I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2015. I'm an automation consultant since more than 10 plus years, and I'm the founder and CEO of au2mator. au2mator was founded in Austria, Europe in 2015, back then as a web front end for System Center Orchestrator runbooks. Lucky if you still know what Orchestrator is. So in 2019, we enhanced our portal to be used by 4 automation engines. So on top of System Center Orchestrator, we added the PowerShell, Azure Automation, and System Center SMA. But 3 years later, so in 2022, we removed the SMA because it just wasn't used by our customers. And Microsoft didn't put a lot of effort in it. So right now we have 3 automation engines, but no SMA. And today, we are happy to have a growing consulting team and happy to help our customers all around the world with au2mator and in automating their IT processes. So how does all this work together? So before you start with the au2mator, you need your automation builder. You have to build your automation. So you have to build your orchestrator runbooks. You have to build your Azure automation runbook or your PowerShell script. You use initialized data to put some values into your automation. So that's everything standard to the automation engine. So nothing special for au2mator self-service portal. Then you do your automation and you give some return data. Okay, so that's the prerequisite. Then au2mator comes in place. So more on the admin side, you create a service, you connect it to your automation you built before, you configure your questions with multiple question types and so on. You can configure an approval. So if your manager needs to approve before the automation is started or some group of users needs to approve, that can be configured. And of course, each service can be limited to a bunch of users, to a bunch of groups, whoever is allowed to trigger that request. And then the end user can start a request. If an approval is configured, the user has to wait for the approval to be done. And of course, the user will be informed about this process. So if there is an approval waiting, the user will be informed via email or in the portal that an approval is pending and he has to wait until the request is approved. If the request is approved or there is no approval, the automation is triggered with the values the user entered in the front end, and you get some return data back. So why are we doing all of this? And of course, one of the most important thing is to increase your security. Because when you use the au2mator self-service portal to delegate or to provide a front end for different tasks, different actions, then you can reduce your domain admins, your application admins, your Entra admins, whatever application you're triggering with the automation. The users or the help desk or the IT people don't need to log into the application anymore. He can use the front end of au2mator to trigger those actions. And when you reduce your domain application admins, there is less more possibilities to have any accident errors. Okay. And of course, with that, you can increase the quality, because automation doesn't depend on if it's cold outside, if it's hot outside, if you have headache or not. Automation always do the same way as you made the automation. Okay. And I have one example for classic user on offboarding. If you have 3 people doing the user on offboarding and you have a written down document how to do it, you can be sure that you have 3 different ways how it is done. Okay, because the humans think different, they interpret the task in a different way. So you can be sure that if you have 3 different people, you have 3 different ways how to do it. And with automation, it is always done the same way. And with that, of course, you save time, because you can delegate your routine tasks, your automation, your services to your end user, to your help desk, to your managers, to your departments, whoever wants to trigger a service or has a request related to IT. So you don't need anyone write a ticket and so on. So that saves a lot of time. And if you save time, of course, you save money, because your IT team then can concentrate to evolve your IT, to evolve new systems, of course, to take care of AI or whatever is right now on your priority list on the very top. So you don't need to pay the people to do routine tasks anymore. They can concentrate or to evolve your business and to bring the IT to the next level. And of course, if the user can request something in a portal and get an immediate response, you will have happy users as well. And I see in many customers that employees are requesting such kind of self-service right now. So if they move from a company which had a self-service portal and do all this stuff, they're requesting those things from the new employer. Okay. And if you don't have this, they will request this kind of self-service. So make sure you already have this in place, or you immediately start. And of course, if you increase security and quality, if you save time and money, and if you have happy users, your IT staff is happy, because your IT staff can do things they like and don't need to do things, daily routine tasks, and so on. So now it's time for the demo. You see here our au2mator self-service portal frontend, but we start immediately with a simple PowerShell script. Yes, it is very simple, but I wanted to show how easy it is to integrate your existing PowerShell script with au2mator. So our first use case is we want to have a service to add a user to an Active Directory group. Easy peasy. So if you need to do this with a PowerShell script, we have 2 input parameters, the user and the group. And then we have a simple try and catch to add the user to the group, or to return an error if something was wrong. Trust me, yes, that is a simple PowerShell script. We will have some more complex PowerShell scripts in a few minutes. But that's the first example we want to show. So how to build then a PowerShell a service in au2mator. So first we switch to the service and create a new service called LinkedIn Live User in Group. So we create a new service and called LinkedIn Live User in Group step 1. So we have some more steps to come. So we fill in a name, we select a service group. So to bunch a group of services into a group, we select an image. I always like the airbrush, what more looks like a rocket. We can configure language, but we will go through that configuration properties later. So the most important thing is now we need to select the automation. So we can select between an orchestration runbook, an Azure automation runbook, or a PowerShell script. So that's what we do now. And now we select the script you saw before. It's on the WEBCAST and PowerShell, and it's the first user to group. So you remember we had two initialized data input parameters, and those now are here to be configured for our questions. So we have a nice title. We say the question is required. And of course, if you use it in the IT, we might stay at the text question type. So IT admins can enter the SAM account name or the UPN, but it's a high potential that someone enters a wrong value and then the automation will fail. So we select an LDAP query. So we build a simple LDAP query, which is object class equals user. And I want to see the display name and the user principal name. And I click a few. I had a typo. Let me check. Object class equals user. Display name, user principal name, few. And now I see it. So we get live from Active Directory. Of course, you can do an enhanced query with inactive users, active users, whatever. Keep it simple for the beginning. Selection type, do I want to select multiple or single values? The display, how the information will be displayed, and so on. So the next question is the group. So we enter choose group as a nice name. It also is required. And once again, we choose LDAP query as question type. We say object class equals group. And I want to see the name. Let's view and see, yes, I get some groups. Also select single multi-select, how we want to show it, and that's it. Save, comment in it. You need to enter comment when you save or change something. And now let's see what the result is. So step 1, LinkedIn user in group. So that's the result. I select the user, Jasmine. I select the group, au2mator admins, a typo again, au2mator. Okay, once again, wrong thing, au2mator admins. And I see the au2mator admin group. I click finish, and in the background, Jasmine will be added as a member to the group. So when we see the return, and you remember the PowerShell script, we return some values. So those values are returned to the portal. So we see the result in here. So user, Jasmine, added to the group, au2mator admins. That's it. So we now have some advanced service prepared. It is called step 2. And, oh, wrong side. It's the same form, the same structure, but there's a different PowerShell script behind. And we see the PowerShell script here. It is that we check if the user is a member of that group, and then we do a different return. Otherwise, we try to add it to try and catch, you already know. So a more enhanced PowerShell script, a little bit enhancement. So once again, we select Jasmine. We select the au2mator admin group. So Jasmine is already a member, so we should now get different response. So let's see the result, the history, and the return. User is already a member of that group. So that's information you see here is also sent via email, Teams, whatever you like. Yeah, but it's just want to show it here in the portal. And we have a third enhancement. So we are now taking care in the automation if the user is a member of, and then he will be added or not. But why not take care in the front end if the user is already a member of or not? So what we do here is nearly the same service and the same PowerShell script in the background, but with a different LDAP query here. So what we do here is we see the groups, but only show groups where the selected user from the previous question is not a member of. Okay, that's the exclamation mark here. So let's see how this works. So start the request, step 3. I select Jasmine again. And now I want to select the au2mator admins, and you see, I don't get that list, okay? au2mator admins, nothing here, okay? So let's see our Active Directory. We see Jasmine is a member of, so remove it as a member. Apply. Just enter a different letter to refresh the query, and then I can see the group. So that is a mechanism I can take care that the front end is built to accept and only accept data what is really needed and already correct. So I don't, of course, in some cases we will take care in the automation as well. But here you have the possibility to lock down the input as good as you can to make sure that the data you get is as good as it can be. And with that said, we switch to a more enhanced PowerShell script. We have here around 600-line PowerShell script. What is doing the same, adding a user to a group, but as I promised, a little bit more enhanced with all the logging and Teams integration, and email sending, and error handling, and so on. So we take care if the user is a member, then this and that, and so on. So all those scripts you see here and on the left side are free on our GitHub repository. So you can use that for free. You don't have to be a customer, free for everyone. You can use that script as well without au2mator, but of course, it makes more fun when you use it with au2mator, of course. So we have also more enhanced PowerShell scripts. So until now, we saw one question type. And I prepared one service to showcase you all the other question types. So I prepared a simple PowerShell script here with just a few questions, no automation, nothing, just a few questions so we can go through each single question type. First and easy one is a text field. Just enter some text. You can use regular expression, for example, for phone numbers or email addresses to make sure that it's correct format, and the validation message, and so on. The next one is an option picker, so a drop-down list with several options separated by a semicolon. Next one is a true and a false, so you can have a yes, no, true, false, and so on, just a checkbox. And here we configured a condition. So I only want to see the true, false question when the previous question was option 1, so the drop-down list. So here I want to show how easy it is to have dynamic forms. Depending on the entered values in the previous question, you can hide or show the following questions. So you can build dynamic forms. The next one is a date time picker. So you can configure it as a date, a time, or a date and time picker. You can configure the format, how the date or time is shown in the portal and transferred to the automation. So you can here make sure that the date or time or both are transferred to the automation as you need it. Yeah, so that's a very important step. So you don't have to do any calculation or something like this. A multi-line text is just a bigger text box. Yeah, nothing else, just more space, more room for your types. A password is a text box just hiding the entered values with dots or stars. And here we configure the background text and a regular expression to make sure that 8 characters, 1 number, upper, lowercase, and so on. So we show the result later on. Now we have a SQL question type, and here I want to show you the SQL behind. So we have here a SQL server stored with our countries and some locations in that country. And this should show a use case a lot of customers using, for example, for user onboardings, to select where the user should be placed or where the user starts and in what country, what location, what office, what department. And so mostly that information is already existing in a SQL in any other database. And here we want first select in the first SQL question, we want to select the country. So we get that list, so Austria, Germany, United States. And the second one should show us the location based on the previous selection of the country we did. So we have the advanced placeholders here as well. So we configure the SQL server, so server, port, and database, the query, select star from country, configured what columns we want to see in the front end and what columns we want to send to the automation. That might be different. because if we want to send any keys to the automation, we don't want to show the keys to the user. The user don't know any cryptic GUIDs or keys. He wants to see a value. Also, you can select multi-select or how the result is displayed. And the second SQL question is the same. The SQL service configured the database and the query, but the query looks a little bit different because we do a select from location where the country code is the result we selected in the previous question. Also, we configured what columns to show and send. The last two questions are an integer question type, put in a number, that's it, nothing more. Also a regular expression, everything else, and a file picker. So on the central state, a central setting is what endings do you allow to enter. And here for each question type, you can select of this allowed question what you want to select here. So for example, you have a service to upload an employee picture. It wouldn't make sense to allow Excel files or CSVs or something like this. So for this is the use case. So we cancel this, and we now see the result, how this looks like in the front end. So LinkedIn Live demo. Okay, text, nothing very interesting here, just a text field. Our drop-down field, option 1, option 2, and now when I select option 1, I see the true false. So that's how to show, based on any condition and any relationship, you can hide or show different questions. The date time picker, also a calendar, or in other case, a clock. So you can select the correct format. We did a multi-line text with more lines. The password, you see here the background text we entered. And you remember 8 characters, so I entered 4. You see 4 numbers, and I want to try to finish to send the form. It reminds me, or the regular expression reminds me, oh, that is not good. So you have to enter some different values. The SQL question, the first one is select the country, in our case, Austria. The next one is Vienna, because based on my selection, Austria, I get the Vienna, Motorstraße 1. So one more try. I want to select Germany. I should get Berlin Mitte, exact. So that's how this works to have the dynamic placeholders also for SQL questions. Integer, you enter a number, you have the arrows to up and down, and a file picker, you select the file you want. So that's all our question types we offer, except one. We forgot one, and maybe this was on purpose to have more like a cliffhanger. We have one more question type left, and that's PowerShell. So you also can use PowerShell not as an automation in the end. You can also use PowerShell as a question type. And for this, I have to add 3 more questions. So as you remember, our demo is having this amount of questions, but I want to showcase you 3 examples with PowerShell question. So we have to enter 3 more. And I prepared already this, so I don't have to type that. So add 3 more input parameters, click Save, and I want to add them here, click Refresh, and I have 3 more questions here. And doing what I'm trying to do here, I will configure it. So you select a PowerShell question type, and then you select the script. So I do this for all 3 of that. And then we will go through each of those questions. I will show you the result and what is behind and the script. So I have 3 examples prepared. One is a simple string. So we calculate a string, but with a small enhancement. We can also take the result of already answered questions and pass that to the PowerShell script. So that might be really interesting for you. So give me just 1 or 2 more seconds to configure the 3rd question. And now Q3 is configured. Save. Just add a comment. That's it. So let's see the result. Demo 1, LinkedIn Live. And I need to fill the SQL because I prepared something here. Select now Germany and Berlin Mitte. Question, the first PowerShell question. Looks like that's the code. So what we get here is we push all the previous answers in the PowerShell. We build a JSON from it and return that value. So what I want to showcase here is that we can use the previous answered question in the PowerShell question, do anything with it, and respond something back. In our case, I just want to respond, you have selected blah, blah, blah from SQL 2. So what we do is here, we click the view button and you see we have selected Berlin Mitte at SQL 2. So to make sure, we select now United States and we select New York and we run that again. And now it is, you have selected New York at SQL 2. So you can use the previous answered questions in your PowerShell question type. Okay. The next one is we return an array and have a picker. In our case, a simple user select, okay, to showcase how easy it is. So we get all the users from Active Directory and get the name and the user principal name property and return that to the Automator portal. The result is, click on that, we get a nice user picker with the selected values, and we can select the user. This is mostly used when the user picker or anything else is a little bit more complex. So for example, based on the logged in user and based on many selections before, you have to return some users or groups, okay? Then I would recommend to use our PowerShell question type, because the LDAP query could be very complicated, and there might be some cases it is not possible with LDAP. So then use PowerShell question. And the last question is one of my favorites. First, I show you the result. The result is the available licenses in our Azure tenant. Okay. And what it did here is the PowerShell looks like this. So all the authentication on top, that's not so interesting. So what we do is we get all the licenses from the subscribed SKUs endpoint from the Graph API. We build a PS object and add the properties as we like. So we add some properties from the Graph API response, but we also calculate the state based on the available count. So we count the enabled and the consumed unit, and then we have the available count. And based on that, if that is lower 2, we return a warning or an OK. And so we build our PS custom object and return that array, and that's the result. So with that, there are no limits on what you want to bring to the portal, or any API, anything you can touch with PowerShell. You can then use the PowerShell question type and bring that to the Automator portal for the service. Okay, so that is what everything is possible with PowerShell and Automator self-service portal. You can do dynamic forms. You can have several types of question types. You can use PowerShell for the automation and for the question types. You can have a form so configured that no user can do anything wrong. And I know that's hard. Users find a lot of ways to do something wrong, but you have a really good tool at hand to build a front end for your PowerShell script. A user cannot enter anything wrong here. And with that said, I just want to show you the rest of the service configuration and the possibilities in Automator. So on the first side, you see the name and the description. You can configure the service groups. Service group is just a collection of other services. You can select the language. So based on that language, save here, and based on the user language, services are shown or not. So if a service is configured to a global language, then it's available for everyone based on the airbag control, role-based access. But if a service is configured as German, for example, in my case, I wouldn't see it. So only a German user, the portal is then translated, of course, automatically. Only a German user would see a German configured service. The language of the portal can be configured by the user or by the standard Active Directory attribute from the language. So there's an attribute in there. We can also use this one. So back to the service properties or configuration. So we've been at the language. You can then configure approval. So before the automation is triggered, an approval is needed from a single person, or a percentage of a group needs to approve. And So in that case, an email is sent or a Teams message is sent to the approver. He needs to click the red or the green button to approve or deny, and then the automation is triggered when the conditions are met. What interesting is you can also select the manager here. So the manager from the Active Directory will then replaced with that placeholder and be the man, the person who needs to approve. In the advantage, you see you can here select the limiting Active Directory groups. So you can limit a service to one or multiple Active Directory groups. So a user has to be a member of that group to access the service. You can also do some instructions. We haven't mentioned that before, so let's switch one step back and see the demo service. You have here the instructions. It's also available as HTML formatting. So there's a bold text. This is a normal text. You can use HTML to have some instructions here to let the user know what's happening here, what you're doing here, and so on. You can also do some internal notes and then estimated saved minutes. This is then shown in the next version in the dashboard. We'll show you in a few seconds. You can have an active custom start message. So when the service is triggered, you will respond to text box with an information, for example, oh, the automation might take a few minutes. You don't have to wait. We will send you an email. Just in that case, you can wait for the return. Remember at the beginning when we tried the service, add user to the group, we navigated to the details, history, and we see the results. This can be shown directly as a pop-up to the user. So we are waiting for the automation to be finished and then show the result directly to the front end, to the user. And you can enable a custom redirect. For example, we had recently one customer is doing an SAP password reset via au2mator, but then is redirecting, when the service is finished, the user to the SAP web login. So he can log in with his new credentials. That's the use case for this. And the other thing is the automation and the question we already did. au2mator itself has some more features. You see your profile, so that information is live from the Active Directory. You can configure what properties you want to see. You can also see your team here. So that is configured on two possible ways by the manager. So if I'm the manager of that user, I will see that user in my team, or you can use it in a different way by you're the manager of a group and all the group members will be shown here as a team. And of course, you can also see the user details of your team members. The My Requests, we already saw that. You see everything here. So the admin sees everything. The user sees only his related services. So you see also the things you have to approve or deny or something you're waiting for. And as an admin, was what I am, so remember back my profile, he is the admin. I see every service what was triggered. So this is heavily used from our customers for regular audits. Yeah, so you can see who requested the LLabs password, who has reset a password, who did an MFA reset. So everything is documented. Okay. So now we see the dashboard. You see here the most used services in the last month. You see the managed license and assign a license, because this was from our previous live event. So this is for your manager. So if you want to prove that au2mator makes sense after some time, give him that screenshot and let him see how many services has been used. And in the next release, we show the saved time in minutes. And that's, just blasting for the manager. He will love it. And the last thing is, when you remember back as start the request, you see here the service groups. So that's a bunch of services related to each other. And those service groups can be configured here. So you can configure a service group, a name, an image, and the same language and security group, or multiple groups. It depends. So this is also the same you saw before at the service. You can do a role-based access and you can do a language limitation. And both settings, the service groups and the service settings related to language and security groups, are then used to calculate what service the user can see. Okay, So that is the end of our demo. I hope it was interesting for you. We are now coming to the end of our LinkedIn Live event. As the next concrete steps, we offer free initial consultation in which we will look at your potential together. We offer unique QR code and link so you can directly book an appointment in my calendar for free for the first interview. And in this, we can clarify further details and respond individually to your requirements. So hope to see or hear you in the next days. Thank you for visiting and listening to our LinkedIn Live. And thank you and enjoy your day. Bye bye.